Good morning.
Morning, how is everyone?
I'm great. How are you
Yeah,
today?
good. Good, I'm very good. Haven't,
Excellent. So, we haven't been through any introduction or anything yet. I'm going to leave that to you. If you can introduce yourself, what it is that you do, I'll take it from here.
hey, so my name is Brian Maina. I work in creative brand marketing part-time, and the rest of my time I also spend working in A&E as an A&E clinician. I'm split between a few A&Es in London, and yeah, I'm just trying to balance the two at the moment.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. So, basically, I met you at your last exhibition, which was it your first as well?
It was my first solo exhibition,
Ah,
yeah. Yeah.
so since this horrid COVID-19, so I was just wondering, kind of I don't want to base the whole conversation on that, but I find it at this time to be really poignant. But I'm also really conscious that you are in this really day to day. So if there's anything that you want to steer away from, it's no problem.
Okay.
But yeah, I just want to talk to you because I thought it was even before all of this happened. I thought it was such a fantastic subject matter. Like I love the NHS. Being from South Africa, we don't have the NHS. You're gonna die before you're
Yeah,
going to hospital. So I've always found it so amazing that this country doesn't have the utmost respect for what you guys go through and what those ladies do, to be fair.
right, right.
What was your inspiration for that
Okay,
kind of?
so. Mhm. Um, so for some time, I was studying medicine around London, and I was just going around on placements, and I would have like my stethoscope with me and my SLR, and I was noticing that just like the conversations that nurses were having, the ways that they were treated, the ways that they felt, was just so derogatory and not things that you would want them to say or feel. So I would ask them if they could describe how they felt in one word as a nurse at the time, and then I would find like a plain wall, which would usually be like a toilet or just somewhere random. And then ask them if I could take a picture, and then the picture would then just be with no cues, nothing would come from me. It would just be simple, sort of, how do you feel as a nurse? Show me how you normally look at work. The word would accompany it, and the word would just describe how they feel. So the exhibition was displaying the word next to the images, and the idea is to provoke and sort of spark a conversation, make you look at the image and see what you think about the image, and then go from there.
Yeah, no, it was. I thought it was fantastic. Even how you curated the show. For me, without the frame, it being kind of like you say in a toilet or in a like an empty room,
Mhm.
I thought it was so good because if you had put sort of more effort into the background or into that, it wouldn't have felt like these women have to deal with having less than they need to have every minute. You men and women, sorry, put up with a lot of shit in that place where you don't have as much as you need.
Right.
So I thought it was like really nice to carry that they're still there, there's still that emotion and how
Yeah.
you feel when you look at these women and you've seen these women every time you've gone in. You've seen
Yeah.
these men every time you've gone into an NHS. And it was so nice to feel so relatable, but they still felt really special. Like to me anyway, that's the kind of feeling that I felt when I looked at them. I just love you guys. You guys are hard. But like
Oh, thank
in finding like you say you're brand marketing part time plus doing the A&E clinician work.
you. Mhm.
Sorry. How do you find the time to fit your creativity around having to work full time? Like what's your discipline? How do you pull yourself through? Hi Nick.
So I've had to split how I do my hospital work. So I only work really between 2 to 3 days a week in hospital, and I try and do nights as well, just because they allow me to sort of they're a little bit quieter. I can spend more time with my patients, and
Yeah.
it just means I'm able to do less shifts. But so I try and do that, and then I spend the rest of my time. I think the creative time is the hard time
Yeah.
to really sort of be structured around. So yeah, it's just all about kind of being diligent and making sure that I really do focus on the goals that I've set. But it's nice when I've got a project running, when there's deadlines going, and
Yeah.
you have to meet certain deadlines and work with people to make sure you know, certain things are met and done. So yeah, that's nice, but that comes and goes. So when it's quiet, you definitely have to dig deep and find that motivation.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, when we talk about, like, I always like to ask these two, the kind of your proudest moment creatively so far for you. What has that been?
Um, Creatively, for me, my proudest moment really, I think it actually had, it was so recent. It was the exhibition with the face of our nurses. The proudest moment, especially then, was seeing one of the nurses next to the image of herself.
That was,
Um, yeah, that was just so touching. And the way that she felt, and she was proud, and she really related to the word still, but she was here for it. And that was so nice. That was really cute.
yeah, no, it was such a pity because I got such a great little interview with her and I wanted to send it on to you, but we just need to play. The audio was absolutely terrible from my
Okay.
phone,
Oh,
but my sister is quite a genius, so we're going to try to tidy up the audio. But she was so elated and like she looked just so, still that same lady in that picture, but she was beaming like with this pride of like, oh, this is just my everyday job. And I was
yeah.
like, these women still like, I mean, this is by no means a comparison, but I've worked in retail and I can't bear some of my clientele and customers and all of that. And you guys go through so much worse because people are afraid, people are scared, so they lash out, they can be super aggressive. And still she was standing there so proud and smiling and just, oh, it was such a nice energy. It was a really well thought out show. I really enjoyed. It
Thank
was
you.
very.
Thank
And
you.
now, so we've covered like all the sunshine. Like, what was your scariest moment then connected to your process?
Other than COVID, I mean, COVID just, yeah, it definitely played a factor because yeah, you don't want people coming in too many numbers. You don't want people in close proximity, etc. But I also need the exposure. That's the whole point of the exhibition, to
Yeah,
make people think, to spark conversation. But luckily, I think it did that also through a social presence. But yeah, I was worried mainly of, you know, are people interested? Are people gonna come? Are they gonna engage? Are they gonna see what I see? Are they gonna feel what I want them to feel from the images? Are they gonna be able to translate the words into the thoughts? So that's because it was more to me than just a photography exhibition. It's a sort of social experiment, maybe you could call it, where I wanted to document what's going on and make you and just challenge you and see if you think differently. So yeah, I think I'm just so grateful that everyone who I spoke to felt the way you did in terms of
yeah.
they were challenged. The thoughts, the words meant something.
Mm.
Hopefully in the
And
future. Oh, sorry.
yeah, it kind of, sorry, it gave me like that emotional connection, even though you said like it was that one word and it was how she was feeling at that time. Um, and it was great, like watching you next to your favorite, well, not favorite, but one of your
Hmm.
portraits that stuck out to you most. And the title was Underpaid. And there's so many times throughout this whole COVID-19 where I've reverted back to that image of that woman and knowing that how all of those men and women in that are on like legitimately an actual front line. Like it's
Right.
not sort of a joke anymore. And through all the abuse and bullshit you've put up with in the past, like for these people, they're still going in every day. You know, I see your stories when I follow you on Instagram and you're going in and I have a little moment where I'm like, right, universe, just take care of him, please, because
Thank you.
like it's such a horrific, scary time where people don't know who to trust and where to go, and you guys are still going in every day. Like I even thank my grocery dudes. I'm like,
Yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
for coming to work because this is like I don't know how to eat if you guys aren't here. So
Right.
that's my own fault as an adult. I should grow my own food. But like, it's really an amazing thing that you guys have done and that you're doing every day. So
Yeah, I think for many of us, it's a sort of like we're appreciating the acknowledgement that we're receiving now, both as like from the doctor to the nurses to everybody, and definitely we're getting a lot of love. Like we're definitely getting a lot of love more than ever. but it also is that constant reminder for us that in the nicest way possible, that things are still the same. The pain is still the same. The work is still the same. I mean, in peak times in winter, it's very similar to how it is now at the moment,
Yeah.
because we're really peaked over at the moment. So things are very much the same right now for a lot of nurses and a lot of doctors and domestic. So what we'd really like is for tangible change and for continuity.
Yeah.
Not to ask too much, but just yeah, we appreciate it. We're here for it. We love it all. But yeah, like let's keep it going post COVID. Let's continue to
No,
show.
I honestly, I know that it's a little bit maybe naive as a human being of the world, but
Yeah, no,
I really hope, like, there's this fantastic footballer who took the absolute piss out of there were some footballers who had to take a drop in wage, and who's taking the piss saying, okay, nurses have got Thursday, but, they're on 17 grand a week. And the person behind the camera went, no, that's a year. And he started laughing. He went, no, don't be silly. But he was actually taking the piss. Like, you could tell I'm not telling the story very well, but it
no,
was
no, no,
his
okay.
take of, why are these footballers not, like, where's the conversation about you have to pay, you are taking a pay cut. There's no
Right,
way.
right.
He went like, oh, they're on 17 grand a week. They're okay. And that's what a lot of the world don't understand. It's a 17 grand a year, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that I hope fundamentally changes, is that we still appreciate everyone on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock. But we vote in people who can fundamentally bring that tangible change you're talking about, that can actually support the NHS instead of rip it apart and privatize it. And then now the world is broken and bankers can't do anything, but nurses, oh, you want them to come to work when you just
Yeah,
told them
just
unskilled like 2 weeks ago before this all kicked off.
the
And
irony.
that's what I hope, not for a massive change in the whole universe, but I hope that shift changes in how we treat people that hold fundamental parts of our society together.
Yeah, I mean, the tagline for the Face of Our Nurses was "Care for those who care for us." That's
Mm,
what it was. It's the essential message as well. Is just we have to, especially because I trained both in England and Finland. I saw that the attitude changes between the two different countries, and it really is in the mind. It's how we perceive what we
mm.
are given, and just to sort of just have that gratefulness and not that entitlement that we unfortunately, it's not all, but obviously some of us have. But
There's definitely people who, don't get me wrong, take the piss and go to the doctor for like a little sniffle, and it's like, dude, you
yeah,
actually,
come on
like,
now.
it costs money to do all of these little things. It's not for
Yeah,
free. You pay a national insurance. But I'm
right.
really glad that you're, and I can't wait for your website to be done, because I think this exhibition at this time would just be able to drive so much more traffic to you. So I'm really excited for that, because I was reading in your little bio and I'm like, right,
Yeah,
I'm putting it up because we need to get this website up, because
it'll
it's
be,
such a fantastic way to show the world who's taking care of us. What are they doing? These are humans that have this innate beauty in them that we don't all have. Caring for other people is not, you can't buy it, you know what I mean? Like, it has to be something you want to do in that type of work, I think, anyway.
yeah, and the beautiful thing in this COVID sort of situation is it's reminded a lot of clinicians, in my mind, especially the ones who are under pressure, why they're there. And you just see
Mm.
the light shining through every single one of them. And also, like, from people, and I know it's causing the difference in them too, but just the gratefulness and the love and everything that's coming through, like, right now is an amazing time to work in a hospital for me. Definitely. Like, you just see the motivation that we have, you see the love that you're receiving, the love you have for each other, the support. It's a banging time. It's a banging time. And yeah, if we can keep this flow going, and I definitely yeah, guys, keep out for the website. It's gonna come soon, very, very
Yeah.
soon.
And
I
as
want
soon as you have it, let me know so I can post it up as well, because I think, especially, and it's such an amazing thing to start, but also to connect people, I think, in a nice way to you as a person, because it is, like you say, it's your pay the rent job, and the job that you care about, really, you can tell in your heart when you talk about it that you care. So, oh, I've just lost my train of thought. It just walked right out. Oh, how unfortunate.
no,
That was
definitely
great.
from what you're saying, 100%. My calling is definitely healthcare. My calling is definitely in helping others in a medical way, or so that sort of tangible, immediate sort of change I see in A&E.
That's what I meant. I think this, sorry, now it's come flooding back to me. I think this connects people to you because you are very creative on your Instagram, and like the photography, the shots are all very, very cool. So there's definitely that creativity, but there's something so beautiful in your exhibition that relates directly to you as a person, not only an artist. So I think it's going to be really great for people to be introduced to you in that way. And it being your first show, I think it's lovely how you've combined, not in a corny way, loving your vocation and also being able to express it through your creativity is like, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for the people who participated. Yeah, just amazing that the way that, because you know, a lot of people are scared. A lot of people are scared, like, oh, does this mean I'm going to lose my job? Does this mean that I'm going to be everywhere and my patients are going to know what I look like and stuff? Hey, Yama's one of, oh, one of the nurses just joined. Hey. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of people could have loads of reservations, which they pushed through, and they allowed me to sort of express the message. So I'm definitely grateful for that, and yeah, it's a nice way for me to start. I'm really, really grateful for a great, you know, this opportunity to come through this way.
Yeah, no, I think it's like, it is like you say, it's such a shitty time. But I also found it to be like, I'm really glad that was my last sort of night out in the world, you know, and it was really nice to have met you and that lady who was standing next to her portrait, because the vibe inside was really, really nice. Everyone, like, even you had your bartenders were dressed in scrubs and had an IV and big syringes. Yeah. Like, it was so thoughtful. And for me, that really showed how much love and care that you put into your actual job, which I find incredible because people suck a lot of the time and you guys have to deal with frightened, scared people. So well done. That's an amazing thing you're doing. So now that we've talked obsessively a bit about your first exhibition, what are the kind of, first of all, how do you identify your next project? And after that, what is your next thing that you're working on?
I think a lot of the main influence of my work is passion, things that I'm passionate about and I really feel strongly about. I'm very passionate about placing like the light and value where it isn't placed and where it's really needed. And I feel that art from ethnic minorities, especially from women, women from the African diaspora, is something that I'm very passionate about. I like to shed a light there. So I'm hoping in the future to curate and direct an exhibition where I'm going to be displaying art from women in the female African diaspora. Again, so hopefully it's going to be called the Daughters of the Diaspora. And the idea is to just sort of represent even different parts of Africa. So we're going to have the east side, the west, and the north, and the south as well. And just to represent and show what art is being shown there, what history, because you know, in many ways the art is documenting and telling us what we've seen in the past, and yeah, definitely want to just sort of highlight that. So that's what I'm working on personally next. Yeah, as well as touring the Face of Our Nurses. I think it's now and afterwards, it's going to be a poignant time for me to continue to show it. And I just want to reach as many people. I want as many people to see it and to feel it.
Yeah, no, I think it's such a fantastic connection that you can get to these people and have these intimate portrait moments. I think that's like, it's really nice how you've turned your passion and the thing that you want to highlight into something that really is out there for the world. It's like when an artist puts their paintbrush on a thing, I don't care if it's a photograph or a painting, like it's something you've seen, it's from your unique perspective, and the words that you match with it are always really, I find, so fundamentally important in art. Like when I see a painting that has like landscape 1908, I'm like, even that one word, it really, and I'm being super biased for myself, but that one word made a massive connection for me. Hi, Vasco. So yeah, it was really, it was so important for me to be able to tell you that today, because I really felt who you were through that connection, and I feel like you should really push very hard with this collection because it's It is so cool. And at this moment, the hashtags, people are looking to support people who are trying to, you know, shine. And you really, those portraits were very cool.
Oh,
It's a
thank
really
you.
cool.
No,
Yay.
definitely. Keep an eye
Okay.
out, guys. 100%.
Well, I'm super excited. The one that you were talking about before, this is your next project that you're talking about, right?
Yeah. After the Face of Our Nurses, yeah.
And sorry, maybe we're repeating a little bit, but what
No.
is it specifically about the female African artists that you want to expose? Is it from
So,
like a personal standpoint, the way the world treats women? Like, what is it?
um, So I think that I'm a feminist in nature. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has definitely drilled that in me with her books. I've read them. But above that is when I've worked. So for a while now, I've been working in galleries and helping out curators. And in that time, I've seen the sort of where value is placed, where the price tags are, and what
Yeah.
people in the art world see as being like valuable art. And very, very rarely do I see a woman there, or if I do see a woman, it's very rare that she's from a ethnic minority background, or if that an African sort of background. So for those reasons, I was just sort of driven and motivated to exhibit work and to really show it in its full light, like in whatever way I can, display it in a way that really sells it, both theoretically, artistically, and in terms of value as well. Because a lot of artists like who I know who are sort of in this bracket of artists, they lack the courage, the confidence, because they just don't see it. They don't see it often, and they don't know if it's possible for them. So I'm hoping in this exhibition to be able to do that, to exhibit their work and to exhibit in a way that really demonstrates that, you know, this work is banging, and it's
Mm.
worth your respect, both your mind, both for, like in every way, you know, 100%. Um,
That's
yeah,
awesome. Because I also find like I also struggle to see black women are not represented unless it's super hypersexualized or
yeah,
they've been made out to be very, very angry, very aggressive. Now, it's not all the time, don't get me wrong, but for me, black female artists are so important. And the black female is very important to take care of black females in general because the whole world takes the piss and
right.
takes advantage and steals a lot of what's part of our current culture
Right.
directly from. And there's nothing wrong with being inspired, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all white people are out here to be, you know, horrible Nazi scumbags, but at
No,
the end
no,
of the day,
no.
also something in being said is stepping back and realizing there's a section of our society that we marginalize to the point of distraction. Like these
Yeah,
women, you know, like are incredible. They, you know, I have, to be fair, about 2 white friends in England, and the rest are all either Asian or black. And it's been such an amazing thing to be brought into a black community in such an open way where, you know, there is a bit of apprehension in the beginning being a white South African, but then I'm at home in 5 minutes in this environment, surrounded by the Caribbean people and their culture, African people and their culture. And I've always found black women to be so caring and so kind. And I
mm,
feel like so excited when I hear that artists want to go and specifically highlight and encourage these artists and these black women. So that's really, really exciting. And anything we can do to support, we have the pop-up gallery. So if
yes.
anything you want to work with us, please let me know how we can support anyway.
Oh,
Hanway happy.
thank you. Yeah, like just to draw from the point that you just touched on regarding caring, how caring they are. I think a lot of the time they're not cared for. They're very much the caregivers, and they're very yeah, doing the sort of the backbone, and being the child of a African woman, a black African woman. I'm very driven to also like, this is, yo, high time, we've got your back. Let's yeah.
Absolutely.
And again, drawing from what you said, like being pro-black is not being anti-white. It's just
It really isn't.
being here for everyone equally. That's what it's about.
But
Same as
also,
feminism.
there's nothing wrong with actually, it's okay to be pro-black because
100%.
there are a lot of horrific things that have happened. And like you say, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I'm anti-white, but I'm also, I can see went wrong and how people shouldn't behave. I'm a normal
Right.
human being. But I also acknowledge that I've been around white people that still to this day think it's okay to talk any type of shit they want. They won't do it in front of me ever again. But
Yeah.
I still find I have to say to someone that's European, like, okay, hold on. You can't actually say that word because it's in a rap song and you don't understand. And I get that they're so disconnected. They don't have black people. They hear this music. They think it's okay.
Right.
But how many other people that are my color are standing up when they see something shitty happening? How many times are are we all standing up when something shitty is happening to someone else?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, I think if we're celebrating, and there's nothing wrong with me acknowledging a scientific fact that we all came from black women. So my tribe just wandered a little further away from the sunshine. That's all we did. And then we ended up with a little less melanin. But I do still live in the reality and understand that a lot of my friends go through really shitty racist things still now in London. And it's
Yeah,
ridiculous,
it is.
know?
The thing is, you see it systematically, sorry, you see it in all forms of society. And I think like it does at times just take that one person. It takes just those few of us to sort of spark it. But in the same vein, I'd like to also like highlight the plight of feminism as well. And it's again, it's just it's about equality of the sexes. It's not one being higher than the other. And I think men being what half of the population and not more, we play a huge part in being the root cause of that equality, and that's what really drives me as well. Is just the understanding of the two struggles that a black woman, black for one and female for the other, are really sort of hustling and sort of carving the place for. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it, and I'm here to let them know that you're valued and value your like 100%. Realize
And
that.
it's ignorant for us to believe as female feminists that we can't further our cause without male feminists. We really
Right.
we can't. It's not about, I don't want a penis. It's not about that. I don't have penis envy. I don't hate men. I just think women who are putting in the work at a massive level need to get paid. Yes, I understand at Tesco's, they're paid exactly the same as a co-worker. But when they get up to management and those closed doors discussion where they discuss their salaries, and we need strong men who are confident in themselves, because I find men who are confident lead other men. So if you're not confident, you're not leading any men anywhere. But if you're confident and you're able to hold your ground, other men will start. And we need other men to show and guide those men that are still stuck in that. I love when I'm in a partnership to cook for my partner and have a nice, clean home. But we both live in the home, or, we tidy the home together. That, for me, is something I'm disappointed in my own generation of being a bit like, I was a super housewife when I first got with someone. And we don't need to be like that anymore. We need to come up and realize the strengths of each other, not like, oh, she goes in the kitchen. Like, it's maybe you go in the kitchen and I take the bins out, dude. Like, let's just have a chat about it. That's all I'm saying. Like, let's be honest with each other. Because this is a bit different, isn't it?
That's the way.
So so what are the other things that you've worked on besides your photography in your art career so far?
So prior to a lot of the work that I'm doing now, I was working in creative brand marketing for musicians and music managers, and it was just really sort of expressing their ideas creatively and sort of developing their work in a way that the others can see it and others can feel their style and their vision. And then after that, I worked for a little bit with sort of fashion and other brands, and just learning how to do the same, but in fashion. But I think what I've come to realize now is to pigeonhole myself in one particular industry is very stifling for me. I'm taking a lot of skills. I'm learning a lot of things from these different sort of industries, and I'm happy to freelancely execute that and use that in those ways. But yeah, definitely photography is one of my favorite mediums to work with. I'll continue to do and work with it. And yeah, I'm very passionate about just sort of like telling stories through that medium. And especially from the female sort of perspective, that's definitely my favorite subject in all my sort of work. Yeah.
Very good. And then okay, so we've done like the sunshine and the rain, but now what's the dream? Like, what would it be, like a show in the Tate? Would it be like what? Like, I'm just using an example. Like, what is the dream? Either commission, space, collaboration. Like, what is that? What's the next part?
I think my goal has been this for a while, and it's really to have the autonomy to display and to curate and to show work of value in a prominent area, in a prominent space, and just yeah, allow people to kill it and let them give them that freedom and give them that execution sort of space. So yeah, definitely to work further as a curator, to establish myself as a creative brand marketer a little bit more within the art industry, and then have my own space. And whilst I'm doing all of this, definitely keep my foot in the hospital. My goal is definitely to work in developing countries, at least for 3 months at a time in the year. And yeah, I'm hoping this year to go for the first time to either Ethiopia or Ghana once COVID calms down and chills out. But
Yeah,
yeah, maybe next
Ethiopia would be amazing. I'm dying to go there.
dream,
It's just
dream.
so much of the world's history lies there. It's so amazing. Sorry, carry on.
No, trust me, I feel the hype. I feel it too. Yeah, yeah. So that's my goal. Split my time between the two, but predominantly working in showing work, curating work, exhibiting, and obviously making my own work when the passion arises along the route.
Yeah. And then, like you say, when the passion arises, like, have you had moments where kind of your internal monologue is really, really bad and you're feeling really low? And if you have had that moment, how have you kind of brought yourself out of that moment?
Yeah, I have. I think my most sort of blocked moment was when I was in medical school. Like, if anyone's been into med school, you know that place is made to rip you apart in every way possible. So yeah, I was left with nothing. I had nothing left. I was like, Brian was out. So it took me a while. It took me. I was still painting, but I wasn't painting what I felt like painting. I wasn't taking photos of what I felt like taking photos of. I mean, the camera really took a pause for a minute. But yeah, I think that was my real block where I wasn't able to give the time and the energy. And also, I think I like to have a cause. I like to have a real reason to do what I'm doing, and not
Yeah.
to say that like other people's reasons aren't valid. There are
No.
100%. Yeah, yeah. It's just for me, I just want to be able to feel it deeply. I want to feel it and understand. Like I want it to move me, and I in turn hope it will move others in that way. So when I'm just not sort of yeah moved in that way, it's difficult. But that's where like in our times, there's always something that's worth fighting for right now, or something to exhibit.
Mm.
So yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think those are my main things. Just being too busy and not allowing myself to breathe, and yeah, not not allowing myself to find the things that I can focus on and be sparked with.
Yeah, because I spoke about this the other day as well. Like, I kind of, for myself, I need almost to put it in a public forum, so I
Mhm.
have to do it. Because to
Right.
myself, I don't lie to anyone. I'm just not smart enough. But to myself, I will lie my ass off. Like, "Ah, you could definitely do that tomorrow," and that's super dangerous because I believe my own lies, but I don't.
Yeah.
So what's nice is like even these conversations, booking them in at 10, trying to help other artists gain as much exposure as we can. These give me a bit of a purpose, like I'm getting up and I'm
Mm,
showering.
mm.
I know it's 10 o'clock, then I got to start, having a look at 9, checking that the person's okay. I've got things I have to be accountable to you, to the people I've posted about doing this to. So that helps me quite a bit. Like when I have an exhibition, I put it down in like our Hanway Collective, like I book my slot for the year and I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this. Oh.
Yeah.
But it actually makes me like, okay, last time you did it, you didn't put enough effort. Now you have like, now you can start slowly. But it does take me having, like you say, you need purpose in maybe a project to get really focused. Whereas, yeah, I need like accountability from other people. Like, I'm okay with it. I'm not that driven on my own. But at least I know it. So now, like, I've made a collective of artists. So it holds me accountable to a degree. But then
Yeah.
I'm producing a little bit more discipline and
Yeah.
things.
No, 100%. I mean, I know Creative Collective that have an accountability WhatsApp group. So they yeah, like they'll put it out there and they'll be like, guys, we're collabing in this particular project. I want y'all to know and just remember. And then everyone sort of grabs each other up and makes sure that things
Yeah.
get. And you know, when you put it out there, even if it's not like a promise, it's like, oh, come on now, guy. Like
No, we've done it.
you said you're gonna do it. So, yeah, accountability is powerful. It is. It is.
Yeah, I mean, we had a live drawing session just before COVID took us, and I forgot to take the tickets off Eventbrite, and no one had
Right.
bought literally all week. And hi Zoe, and literally as soon as it hit like 2 hours before, or like, oh no, it was the night before, like 10 o'clock at night, this chick bought 2 tickets. And I looked at Shannon and she went, oh, you didn't take it off Eventbrite. So then, to be fair, I had to go and commit to this class. And then other people joined us, some of our regulars, and it was actually a brilliant day.
Oh, brilliant.
But
Right.
it kind of like, it was like, yeah, you wanted to find a little lazy route because it is like into central London and, you know,
Yeah.
but I was so glad to kind of have that little bit of event, like you're not refunding anything unless you drop dead. So
Yeah.
go and do it.
That commitment. No, I love that. Yeah, yeah. It's funny how it just takes little things like that to teach us or shake
But
us
I
up a
think,
little bit.
yeah, at least you know what I mean? Like, okay, let me think of a project because I'll be a bit like lackadaisical or I need to give myself more time. You know, we all learn this on a journey, but it's quite interesting to find all of the artists I speak to have their own little way of getting that discipline or finding their way to it. So that's very, very cool. And so basically, I think we've kind of covered everything that I would like to cover. If there's more that, because, okay, there's kind of one thing related to your next exhibition,
Uh-huh.
but it's more kind of a cultural question that I find interesting to ask now. Because when I first got to England 16 years ago,
Yeah.
it was kind of in the Caribbean community that I knew, all my friend base, the African people I knew were more like older aunties at work and uncles, you know, like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
would hang out with them on the weekends. But it really wasn't, people weren't very proud of being African. And I find now it's almost like an on trend. Like everyone's like
Yeah.
super, super proud of being African and wearing African print. Like I love it. I think it's fantastic. I just, from you living here, have you seen that kind of cultural shift in the Black community more towards like being proud of Africa and wanting to spend more of their time there and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think because I grew up in Berkshire, it's a
Oh
little
my.
yeah. Um, so I moved.
Everybody looks like me in Berkshire.
But you know, I genuinely felt so more at home in Berkshire than I did in London. Because they
Yeah.
just think you like everyone's just like, yo, we knew Bryce since he was 6. Like this is Bryce. But I remember it being, especially for my friends who are full African, it was definitely a thing of, oh, like you're African and there's Caribbean, and there was a
Mm,
real distinct between the two. And it wasn't necessarily pride always that was being felt, but like I can just, yeah, I've definitely seen the change. I've definitely seen the pride. Like we have homecoming for Nigeria this year, and then we had Afro Nation in
yeah.
Ghana, and Ghana was the year of the return last year. And I
Mm,
think things like that are just so powerful. Like they really just sort of remind you, like the diaspora, like that whole feeling. And I think also, like my parents aren't, my dad's Italian and my mom's Kenyan, but I like my parents really instilled this like huge sense of like Pan Africanism in us. They really made us feel like you're Kenyan, but you're African, like, and really like
mm,
be proud of it. And I think this Pan Africanism is maybe the thing that for me is like is quite dope to see. Like you'll get people who will say, "Yeah, I'm from Ghana, I'm from Nigeria, but I went to Kenya, I went to South Africa, I went to
yeah.
Morocco."
So
Like,
many more people are doing that. It's
yeah,
great.
like we're going around, like we're not just sort of going back to just visit our grandparents or anything like that. It's really about like experiencing and being about that moment. I think for me, the thing that was always that I've noted that has always caught my eye is there is a, especially in London, there's a sense of rejection of the UK. Like at times, if you ask me where you're from, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm from Ghana, full stop." But yeah, like where did you go to school? Where, like, when did you move from Ghana to England? There's more to the story
Yeah.
than just that. So I think that the Britishness and the identity of Britishness is changing a lot.
Mm,
And I think that's amazing. Like to like I feel very much British, but it's so equally so Kenyan and Italian. Like each country brings something different to the table for me and makes me who I am. And I
Mhm.
think, yeah, like over time, I'm really curious and I'm interested to see how that's gonna play. Like what Britishness means, like
Yeah.
what is that amongst all this diversity and culture?
It does shock, obviously being South African, like I'm used to like super basic racism, black and white and brown, we don't get along. And I'm like, okay, that's stupid. But it's,
Right.
and then when I got here and there was kind of no sense of pride in coming from Africa, you know, like the photo with the child with the fly on their, like I've lived in Africa for 19 years, my whole life. I never saw that. You know, it's
Mm,
something
mm.
on your emotional, like white privilege and shit, like that stuff. Yes, I'm sure there's times in really horrible places, but there's really
Yeah.
horrible places everywhere. And that lack of love for Africa, because I'm so proud that I am born and raised there, and there's, I mean, I don't belong, I know. The sun doesn't want me there, but I'm so proud and happy to be South African. And when you touch down on that continent, is something in your soul changes, and nobody can explain that to you. And you have to have, you know, had a connection to that place. So it's really nice for me to see now how many more people are so proud of Africa, and people are going and seeing that it isn't like a hut in the dirt next to a tree and a fucking
Right.
light.
Right. 100%. I think, you
Like,
know, it's crazy. You get really surprised. I mean, like even myself, I'm not gonna lie, I never expect a hut or anything like that when I go back to Kenya when I go home, but you are so surprised. You literally are like, there's no difference. The quality of life at times is just, you're sort of like, yo, it's even better over here. And I think people are realizing that. They're realizing like it's no, we don't have the upper hand of it over in the West or anything like that. And yeah, that's crazy. That's just so it's exciting. It's good because we're all seeing what we've been seeing, right? Everyone's seeing what we've seen for so long.
and the thing is, we are all of the world, and I get it. We're all, you know, still in a tribe mentality where we have to divide our land, and you know, everyone's out to kill everyone else. But it's like it's just nice to see like that we're actually entering Africa into a more positive connotation in everything. People are starting to understand Africa is not a country; it's a continent with
Yeah.
lots of countries inside it. So yeah, that's quite exciting for me to see, and I'm really, really excited for your next exhibition. But yeah, just
Thank
before
you.
we leave, um,
Yeah.
I just wanted, is there any things that, especially like, I don't mean to COVID-19 it at the end, but like, is there anything from your guys' point of view from the NHS that we can be doing? Is there, besides voting correctly, you know, is there anything that like anywhere people can go that they want to support stuff? Is there anything like that happening? Or is it just clap for you guys every Thursday and send you effortless love and support?
A lot of people have been donating stuff in sort of the A&Es or they've been contacting hospital knowing where to take things in. So yeah, we definitely appreciate the things like, for example, that we have coffee machines we never had. We're like we're not worrying about lunches and stuff. People are always bringing our lunches and dinners and stuff, and that makes a big difference. Like it changes the morale completely because it's just that collective vibe of like we're gonna eat together and we're not having to worry about going home and cooking and stuff like that. So that's really, really, really nice. I think there's a couple of places online, whether it's on, like, you know, those sort of voting and you can petitions that you can make towards the government. There's quite a
Oh
few.
yeah, yeah, I've done a load
Yeah,
of that.
there's loads out there that are petitioning on supporting the NHS and changing the wages and things like that. So yeah, the more the merrier, please, guys, please, please, please. Um, and there is one thing in particular in nursing that I definitely would like to highlight. As many of you have seen, nurses who haven't finished their training, who have 6 months left in their training, are being asked to pull out and to come and work. And to stop their training. In some formats, they even not getting paid as seeing as voluntary work or part of of just their theory part of training. Therefore, they shouldn't be paid. Or you're finding that there is in places not enough PPE, but because of the duty of care that we, especially nurse and the whole nursing teams have promised that they can't say no. You can't say no. I'm not going to go look after someone, or ethically, sorry, you're not going to want to do it. But the Nurse and Midwifery Council has now changed the guidelines, saying if you don't have the equipment that you need to feel safe or that meets the guidelines, so it's not individualistic at all. It's very sort of standardized. If it doesn't meet the guidelines to protect you, then don't go in there, and you don't have to go in there. So this support is amazing from the union, but to know that people understand that we're not leaving you. We're not saying no. We're standing for our own health too. I think it's really important just to, yeah, if you, the things like that, the sort of the petitions, and watching the unions and seeing how they're supporting nurses. Don't let the government sort of back us down.
No.
It's a really important thing that we, yeah, definitely get support from that end. Please, guys.
Well, I'll try and I'm not very technologically advanced, but I'll put a couple of the things that we can do in a post for Hanway after this.
Yeah,
you can go and have a little look and see what you can do to support.
yeah.
But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been a really amazing insight into what you're doing. I'm very excited for the future, and we have space.
Yes, yes. Guys, coming up, you'll see it at
So,
the Hanway.
when we're allowed near each other again, I look forward to having a lovely drink and celebrating all the wonderful things you guys do. And then, yeah.
100%.
All I have to say. If anyone has any questions or comments to leave them now. Lou?
Very shy. Okay. Thank you so much for having me as well.
No problem. I'm going to also try to record this and post it on our YouTube video. Nicola's saying thank you very much. And yeah, just thank you so much.